Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today for the very first webinar from Dogs for Better Lives of 2024. And the title today is Inside a Service Dog's Mind. I'm Sarah Eifert. I'm the Vice President of Marketing with Dogs for Better Lives, and I'm going to be your moderator today. We'd love to hear where you're attending from. I'm in snowy Wisconsin, so go ahead and share your location in the chat. For those of you who are new to us, Dogs for Better Lives trains and places assistance dogs free of charge with deaf or hard of hearing adults, children diagnosed with autism, and licensed professionals working with vulnerable communities so that people with disabilities can lead safer and more independent lives. And you can learn more about us at dogsforbetterlives.org. So a couple of housekeeping notes. If you'd like to view closed captions, you can go ahead and click on the little CC box to the bottom right of this video. And today's webinar will be recorded for future viewing. So if you wanted to check back and revisit something that we share today, you'll be able to do that. We'll be sending an email to all registered participants with a link tomorrow. For those of you attending live, feel free to ask your questions. You can go ahead and put them in the YouTube chat box. You can also send me an email. My email is Sarah, S-A-R-A, @dogsforbetterlives.org. The YouTube chat box will be the quickest, and we're going to try to get to as many questions as possible today. We will have a bit of an interactive component to this presentation using the YouTube chat box, so glad to see many of you using the chat now. We've got people visiting or joining us today from Central Point, Oregon, Falmouth, Massachusetts, Texas, Kentucky, Idaho, Minneapolis, Colorado, Columbus. Great. Got quite a span. So today, I would love to introduce two of my fellow staff members from Dogs for Better Lives. Gwen Dudek is here. She's our Vice President of Program. You may have seen her in a prior webinar, and glad that she's back with us today, sharing her expertise. And then we also have Emilia Wenner joining us. She is our Training Manager at the West Campus. So I am going to turn it over to you two to get us into our presentation for today.
Awesome. All right, so I am going to start just going over, really just talking about the programs that we train for. Hi, I'm Emilia. I'm the West Training Manager in Central Point, Oregon. So just an overall view of the dogs that we train, or I'm sorry, the programs that we train for. We have our hearing dogs who are trained to alert their person to everyday household sounds. These sounds can be door knock, it can be smoke alarm, oven timer. We have a wide variety of sounds that we can train. And for our hearing assistance dogs, they can either be home hearing dogs where they're just alerting their client to the sounds in their home. And then we also have certified hearing dogs, and those dogs do have public access and have a few sound awareness alerts that they can do in public as well. For our autism assistance dogs, these dogs are placed with families with a minimum of 3 tasks. A few of these tasks are lap, squish, and settle. These tasks are used to help keep the child focused and keep the child grounded. For our facility dogs, they have pretty similar tasks to our autism assistance dogs, but these dogs do go to working professionals or volunteers. These are professionals who work with vulnerable populations or persons with disabilities. So this could be child advocacy centers, physical therapists, and teachers. Additional tasks that they can use are visit and touch. And then we also have, of course, our career change dogs. Our career change dogs are dogs who weren't quite suitable for the working careers that we have. So they become adoptable for families and just become house pets at that point. Just like all of our dogs, we do have a lifelong commitment to them. And so we do adopt them out to families and again, just hold that lifelong commitment to them as well as all of our dogs. So to give you kind of an overall view of the temperament qualities that we look for in these dogs, for our hearing assistance dogs, as you see, we want dogs that are energetic, that have great sound awareness, dogs who are persistent, confident and independent, and then comfortable working day or night. So if you kind of picture it's middle of the night, dog is sleeping on the bed, and smoke alarm goes off. We want a dog who is confident and independent enough to not be cued by a person, just to know, hey, the sound's going off. I need to wake up. I need to find my person. I need to alert them, and I need to lead them to this sound. So overall, we want them to be persistent. We want to make sure that they are persistently alerting their person, making sure that they have their attention to bring them to that sound. And then we also have for our autism assistance dogs. So these dogs, we want them to be focused, calm, love children, especially because they will be mostly working with children, working independently, great obedience skills, and easygoing. Part of that is being easy to handle. So our autism assistance dogs are typically handled by, if not one, both of the parents of the child. So they need to be able to transfer easily between handlers, and then also being easygoing, being able to change and go with the flow of the child's needs and lifestyle. And then we do want these dogs to have more of a low to medium energy, while also being exceptionally obedient. And for our facility dogs, as we said, these dogs are being placed with professionals in the workplace. And so there's a variety of different workplaces that these dogs can be placed in. So we want them to be dogs that can uphold the ADI standard of professionalism. We want dogs that obviously love to be around people because most of their tasks will be performed on multiple different people throughout their lives. These dogs do need to be able to settle for long periods of time. So when they are in the work environment, sometimes they might not be having to work and do the tasks. So being able to be calm, quiet, and able to settle with a lower energy. So for the training portion, where we kind of figure out these temperaments and where these dogs fit in, as you see on this idealized timeline that we call it on this spreadsheet here, so we do have medical clearances that we look at. We do like to guarantee at least 10 years of service for these dogs. So in doing so, we have a lot of medical clearances that we do, which also helps us grow our breeding program. So while we're looking for these ideal temperaments and obviously healthy dogs, we have some medical clearances that we do to make sure that we are choosing the appropriate dogs to continue adding more dogs to our program. And then when the dogs are in for training, we have multiple different evaluations and tests that we do. And it's kind of a week by week basis that we do certain evaluations. One thing we like to consider is when dogs come in for training, it's a completely new environment for them. The training environment is much different than the home environment that they had been in. So there is an adjustment period for them. So we like to start out introducing multiple tasks of all programs to all of the dogs, just to kind of get an idea of what are they receptive to, what just how are they learning, how are they able to be trained, and then while also doing all of the evaluations. So as we go through the weeks and we continue with the evaluations, at one point we make the decision, yes, this dog is showing that they are more suitable for this program, and then we continue teaching the skills based on that program for the rest of the time that the dog is in training. And then next, before we hop into some videos to show what some of this looks like, Gwen, was there anything you wanted to add based on what I had shared so far?
Nope, I think you're doing great. You're doing great.
Awesome. So we're going to share some videos with you of our dogs in action. So first we'll go over some of the hearing alerts that we have. So as you can see, the client was laying in the bed and then smoke alarms going off. And so that dog then jumped up into the bed, alerted the client. Obviously, she was awake at this moment, but if she was asleep, the dog would be there and he would just be persistently tapping her. The cue for them to then lead them to the sound is the client asking them what. So when the client asked what, then the dog then took her to the smoke alarm, showing her which sound was going off. And then the next video is a little more fun and new for us right now. So part of our certified hearing dogs, as I said, they do have public access. And so while naturally they provide sound awareness for the clients, we also do train them to alert them to some sounds in public. So that one that you saw, the trainer was walking with the dog and then their cell phone went off. And then the dog then alerted to the trainer that their cell phone was going off in public. So that one is a fun one. It's more new to us that we're training, and we're looking forward to seeing that keep progressing with our dogs.
Walker, sit. Good. Stay. Walker, lap. Okay, we're done. Walk her off. Walk her off.
So this one is one of our facility dogs doing lap. So lap it's cued by the handler. So whoever the working professional is, they would have whomever sitting on the chair and then cueing the dog to do lap, where you see the dog jumps up. And that can apply deep pressure. It gives the child or whomever, they can hug the dog, pet on the dog, and love on the dog. And it's just, everybody loves that one. So it's always fun to share that one. And next, I'm going to hand it over to Gwen. She's going to get us going before we start our interactive piece. So Gwen, there you go.
Thank you, Emilia. That was a great overview of a quick deep dive overview onto our training process and kind of our thought process. But I know this, so don't be disappointed. There's more dog talk coming. We're going to shift gears just for a minute, because obviously, while this was titled Inside the Mind of a Service Dog, of a Working Dog, that was, our preview of the dog piece. And it gets a little bit more, it gets a little less black and white as we go forward. And that is because we'll blame the humans for that, because people are people. And so one of the ways that we want to make sure we're making good matches is that we explore our application process and learn as much as we can about the people that we think we can place a dog with. So just as a very high overview, not to go into the application process per se, but to go into what we're looking for as folks are applying, obviously one of the most important things we need to learn about someone is their lifestyle. So are they really active? Are they really sedentary? If they work, what does that environment look like? There's a very big difference in a dog, that would work well in a factory or manufacturing environment versus a quiet office. If they go to school, college, how busy is that campus? Do they live on campus or do they commute? And then also, what do they do for fun? Do they have a lot of family around them? So these are all things that, one of the first things that we like to capture as we learn about individuals who are applying to our program. Another big piece of our application process is learning about someone's abilities. So in the case of our hearing dog applicants, we need to understand their degree of hearing loss, how do they communicate, how does this hearing loss affect their day-to-day? And so similarly for our children applicants, we are always talking with the parents to learn more about the kid. Does this kiddo get really stressed? What are some of the things that affect them? How does the parent see integrating the dog into that child's daily schedule? How will the dog make a difference? And then for all of our placement categories, of course, we're going to want to know if someone has any kind of balance deficits or cognitive or physical disabilities, because that's going to inform the type of dog we can put with them as well, and how much management these dogs might need. The third piece that we're always looking to find out about individuals is any previous either dog training or working with a dog experience that they might have. As you might imagine, this influences people's perceptions and expectations when you look to put a working dog in their home. And sometimes it may seem that perhaps someone who's had a dog before is going to be easier than someone who hasn't. And honestly, that never necessarily plays out. So, but it is always good to gather that information and really understand what someone is expecting. And some of the application process, quite honestly, is about us aligning expectations. A lot of people are coming to us for something that will definitely make a difference, but sometimes the difference they're expecting is even beyond what a dog would be able to do. So we're always having that conversation as well. So Emilia has talked to us about our dogs get trained, right? And we work on getting people on our waiting list. So we have waiting lists for all of our placement categories. And so we're moving forward in time, and now the dogs are ready for placement, and we want to start thinking about who are we going to match these dogs with. Well, as we're thinking about that, the very first consideration that the team has to make is, if we put this dog with this person, is that going to be safe? And so we acknowledge that no dog is perfect, and that's really good news because neither is any human. But if we do this right, we can make the magic happen when we make the match. But first of all, we need to make sure that the dog can be safely managed by the client, and that the client can safely interact with the dog for however that dog might need intervened with in the different environments that person might go. So we're always going to look to safety first, and then we're going to look for alignment of expectations. So even though folks go through the same application process, they may come away from that application process with a set of expectations of the dog that's different from someone else, just maybe because of their lifestyle or their the way their disability impacts them, that can change what people are going to ask for from a dog. Similarly, dogs kind of bring their own opinion into this placement matching piece, where you see enough dogs, you'll notice different love of different tasks, different attention for humans, different needs of management around distractions. So we need to align a dog and his expectation, his work ethic with the human. For us, this all comes together in a really unique way, where our training staff review the files of folks that have applied working with our client services staff. So our client services staff have gathered all of this information on individuals. We do all kinds of interviews, videos. We've seen someone's house or their workplace via video. We've talked to them about everything you can imagine. And so this gives our training staff a starting place to think about the dogs that they're training and to see if dogs that they have might be a match for someone on the waiting list. When the trainer says, I think dog Jojo is going to be a great match for Sally, we will reach out to Sally and tell her about Jojo, and then Sally can decide if she wants to accept Jojo as her placement or not. And so that's how that works. But none of the magic has quite happened just yet, because we need to get there and have the dog and train the person and help acclimate the dog to this new home and this new handler. So over the course of a week, our placement trainer or our field rep, we have both, go to someone's home, go to an individual's home. In the case of the facility dog, we're going to go to their home and their workplace. In the case of a public certified hearing dog and a kid with autism, we're going to spend time in their home, but we're also going to go to places they frequent in public. And we're going to teach that person how to work with the dog, problem solve through anything that might happen. Because even though the dogs are well trained, they're still dogs. And potentially this new human has something really delicious on their counters or in their trash can. And hopefully not. Hopefully the dog's not exploring that way. But if it does, our trainer is right there to navigate and give that human a way to, circumvent that. So that's not a problem moving forward. So, but during that week, folks start to understand how the dogs will impact their life and enhance their life. All right, so now we're going to get really technical, and this is where we're going to need your help. So as a part of putting this presentation together, we invented 4 dogs. The actual dogs you see are dogs in our program. Those are not their names. Those are completely made up names and completely made up descriptions of what a dog could be like. But as an overview, we'll go through them quickly. So Florida is this high drive working dog. He loves to work, and please give him food. Pet him on the head if you must, but he'll also be looking to see if there's a piece of kibble attached to that reward. He's got a little bit of a higher energy level. So when he's home and not being directed, he'll be exploring the house. If there's like a cookie on the counter, if you're not watching, he might think that's his cookie. So Florida's a little bit more to manage, but his work ethic is outstanding and he's really well trained. I'm going to back myself up here a minute. For the purposes of this exercise, we are going to pretend that all of these dogs have all the same skills. So all of these dogs could be placed as hearing dogs, as autism assistance dogs, or as facility dogs because they all have the same skills. So we're just going to focus on their temperament and the things that we know about these dogs. So Talon is adorable and highly interactive. Talon understands the skills that she's been trained to do, but if you let her play or be pet all day, she'd love that better. She does have some excitable greetings, particularly when she sees small children, but she's fairly low energy and she adapts well to change. So that's a really nice feature built into Miss Talon there. Steve is a medium energy dog with some distractibility in public. So he needs managed, but if the handler's aware, you can easily redirect him and keep him working, keep him focused on the handler. He's not a lot to manage, but you do need someone that is both aware of their environment and aware of what Steve is doing. But boy, he's really nice, interactive, food motivated. This is a nice little working dog that just needs a little bit more management. And then we have adorable Maverick over there, and he's slightly insecure, but that's not a bad thing. He is gaining his confidence from his handler. So if his handler is confident, Maverick's fine. He's like, go with the flow. Cool. This is great. He is food motivated. He has a strong play drive, but also reliable skills. And he can be a little excitable and distracted around other dogs, but he can also be managed in that scenario. So those are our dogs. And it turns out we have made up people on our waiting list as well. So my goodness, who are our people? So we have Thomas. As you can tell, he is a young man who is a physical therapist for a large hospital system. He has really busy days, really busy. He has a typical caseload of about 10 patients per day. So he's very busy. And his clients range in age from 5 to 95. So could be working with anyone at any time, but boy, he's going from appointment to appointment to appointment. He lives alone in an apartment, travels, plane, car, and boy, give him a computer, give him a gym, and that's how he likes to spend his time when he's not working. So he's one of our applicants for a facility dog, obviously. Our middle applicant is Kenneth, and Ken has a background in military and police. So he definitely comes to us with some pretty high expectations of a dog. His life is pretty laid back, though. He's retired. He golfs and he travels by car. Not a lot of flying. That's not his thing. But he does have profound hearing loss in one ear. He wears hearing aids, communicates verbally, and he can read lips. One of the things that we need to know about Ken is that he does have neuropathy in his feet. So this can affect his balance at times. He, sometimes uneven surfaces get him, but he gets around fine. He golfs, he's active. It's just sometimes that neuropathy rears its ugly head, more so around the house. He has a quiet house, teenage grandchildren. This guy never had a dog of his own, but boy, he's seen those military working dogs and he knows the work they can do, and he has very high expectations. And then Kenzie is so adorable. She is a little girl with autism, about 7 years old. She has a really busy household, great parents, a little brother who is just the most 3-year-old child you would ever meet, so super busy. They have 2 cats. Kenzie's very active, limited verbal, but her parents have her in a bunch of different types of therapies, both at school and outside of her school schedule. If Kenzie gets frustrated, she tends to withdraw and not be cooperative. So it's not that Kenzie gets really mad or really angry or very physical or loud. She just more gets withdrawn. And that is actually one of the things that parents are hoping the dog will help with, is to kind of draw her out when she's in those moments. The family's outdoorsy. They go camping, fishing, and do a lot of traveling by car. So these are our individuals. All right, here we go. Now is where the fun's going to start. We need you in the chat. So here's our Marine. We're going to start with our Marine police officer. And we want your insight, your thoughts on which dog you think might make a good match for Ken. So we'll have you just put your thought in the chat. We have Florida, the high drive working dog, Steve, the medium drive working dog that needs managed in public, Talon, who doesn't have a great work ethic, but is a great dog, playful and such, and then Maverick, who's slightly insecure, food motivated, a little bit of distractibility. Okay, go. We'll give you a minute to put the dog of your choice for Ken in the chat. There's no wrong answer. One of the things that I will say as a part of this exercise is Emilia gave us a great broad overview of what would a just generically defined hearing dog or generically defined autism assistance dog, what would that temperament be? But what we are hoping to show through all of this is that the human is actually probably going to be the one that sends the dog on the path. Oh, look at you guys. So yes, we can go to the next slide. So if I were making these matches, I think Steve is probably the better dog for Ken, mainly because of that neuropathy in his feet. Florida is definitely a choice for him because of the high drive and the work ethic. But I do worry about Ken around the home with a busy dog. Ken would 100% be able to manage Florida. But if Steve is available, that might be a slightly more magical match just because of the home things. And you can make arguments for the other dogs as well. Very good. Look, you guys are on your path to being assistance dog instructors. And if we're hiring, we're going to keep a list of all these names. So, by the way. All right. Next slide. Okay, now we get to pick a dog for Kenzie. So we have Mackenzie with autism, who's mostly quiet, smart, but active family. Please put your matches for Kenzie in the chat. I should say we don't have to pretend that Steve is used. Our folks are thinking about this. Oh, look
We've
at
got
that.
Talon and Maverick so far.
Uh-huh. All right, we can go to the next slide, Sarah.
Okay.
Look at that. So in the world that we made these slides, Maverick jumped out as a good first choice because of his play drive, reliable skills, and needing managed around other dogs more so than kids. Steve also came up as a good choice, but if Steve is used with, I guess we don't have to say that he is. Steve would be a good choice there as well. And then the reason Talon landed as a third choice is just because she does need managed around kids. So while they have a busy house and a lot going on, if there's a dog that is a little bit less management, that would be great. The reason Florida isn't really a choice is Florida doesn't love the petting or the interaction. He'll accept it, but he doesn't love it. And we would anticipate Mackenzie going for the petting a lot or the interactive commands. Go lap and visit. Cool.
Yeah, and tying back to Emilia's portion where she was talking about the kind of temperament qualities for an autism assistance dog, it was the medium, lower energy, and Florida has a bit of a higher energy. So, great.
Exactly. Thank you, Sarah.
Okay, next one.
Yes, moving on. All right, here we go. We have Thomas, our very busy, active physical therapist in a hospital setting. What dog do we give Thomas?
Yeah, one thing to remember is there aren't really any wrong answers as we kind of been going through this. It seems like there are possibly multiple options.
Correct.
Okay, we got one for Florida. D for Florida.
Yeah. That.
Talon.
Cool. Well, what did we think we were going to, what dog did we think we were giving Thomas?
Any of them.
So the beautiful news is when the dogs are like this and the applicants are like this, it does give us a lot of versatility in what temperament of dog we might put there. And so if this were a scenario where we had these 4 dogs trained and these were our specific people that we wanted to place the dogs with, Thomas is a lovely candidate to have on the waiting list because you could make an argument that any of those dogs work well there. So in fact, yes, Florida would be one of my favorites to put there just because of the work ethic and Tom's life aligning with Florida's energy level. Mary noticed that we had a trick question in there. The only thing that Florida might not be perfect for in this role is just that he just doesn't love being pet. So he'll accept it, so it'll be fine. You could also see Talon in this role just because some of the play therapies and ways that Thomas could use Talon. But again, Thomas's clients range in age from kids to adults. So Thomas would have to manage Talon in the scenario with the children. Steve is turning out to be a pretty versatile dog for us, right? So Steve could have gone any of the places, and then Maverick would also be a nice choice. So you guys have all become assistance dog matchmakers during our webinar. This is the part where we open it up to any of your questions or comments or anything you want to share with us.
Yeah, definitely add any comments you might, or questions or comments you have in the chat box at this time. I do have 2 questions that I received in advance. So thank you to the folks that sent those over. So the first one, and this is kind of like in the, the training phase. How do we ensure that dogs have good public behavior given the diverse experiences that puppies might experience before coming into professional training?
Do you want that one, Emilia?
Yeah. So we do a lot of public outings with our dogs as well. And so that was what you asked, correct? Just the public outings. Yeah. Okay. So even though when in the puppy home, they actually are exposed to a lot in the puppy home as well. We do ask our puppy raisers to do public outings with them and really expose them to as many different environments and things that they can. And then when they are in training, we do a lot of exposure out in town as well. And so that's where even like for the hearing dogs where it comes into play, like certified versus home hearing. A home hearing dog would be a dog that maybe wasn't as comfortable working out in public. And so that is part of something that we take in when we do those evaluations and the temperament tests.
Gotcha. Thank you. And then similar, this is another puppy related question. What kinds of behaviors in a puppy does a trainer look for before encouraging them to enter professional training as a service dog? Ideal puppies.
Want me to take that one, Emilia?
Yes, please.
So in our world, we are looking to bring the dogs in more when they reach an age that we feel they're ready to come into training. So typically that's between 14 and 18 months of age that the dogs come into training. You know, a lot of this is also in just full transparency. We need to keep our dog pipeline flowing because we keep having applicants, which is wonderful. So most of the dogs right now are coming into training right around that 14 to 15 month age. Our puppy program staff has a great handle on the dog's strengths and weaknesses and what experiences they had leading into training. And so if there were concerns in the puppy raising home, they're sharing that with the training department. And so the trainers can start looking at those things and determining what steps we can take to either, you know, minimize whatever that behavior might be if we're worried about it, or determine if that's going to be a deal breaker for us. Great question. It looks like we've got some great questions coming up in the chat now too.
We do. So Lois's question, how long is the in-home final match training?
Emilia?
Guessing the placement.
Yeah, so for the in-home part, it's dependent on what the dog is. Typically, it's 4 to 5 days that we do placement. So the field representative or placement trainer brings the dog to the client's home, and they spend 5 days in that local area doing work in the home or in their workplace or any other public places that they frequent, and will be bringing the dog. So about 5 days, 4 to 5.
Yeah, and then Carol asked, how many placements are done in a given time frame? Like, how many dogs in the same week? We have like an average, and it varies.
Right. So yeah, great question, Carol. So Dogs for Better Lives is a small but growing program. So in recent years, and probably how we'll finish this calendar year, we'll place about 18 to 25 dogs. So if that gives you any context, we have 3 placement trainers that are available, or 3 field reps, 3 field reps that are making the majority of our placements. And so the beauty of this program, though, is that when the dogs are ready for placement, we place them. So most dogs maybe are in training for 6 months, but some are in training for 5 and some are in training for 7. So there's a little bit of a variation of when we can place them, and it's dictated by the dog's readiness.
Great. And then there's a couple of questions on like timelines. So what is the typical time range from acceptance to placement? And then how long is the waiting list? Still 3 years? We'll just combine those two.
Yeah, so we usually like to say about 3 years for the wait list. Of course, it can be quicker than that. I think it's less likely that it does hit the 3-year mark. But what we do, so we have a check-in process with the dogs as well. So we do check-ins with the dogs each month, and then we schedule the test. And before the test date, we kind of pin down who we want to place this dog with. And then we offer the dog at that point, and then we give them about 4 weeks until placement. Sometimes it can be a little bit longer or shorter. We try to work around the client's schedule as well, with them having to request time off from work or make any arrangements in their home. So it's usually ideally about 4 weeks from the offering acceptance to the placement date.
Yeah, and then adding on to Peggy's question about the waiting list. So
oh, yes. And for so we do, we actually, when clients are on the wait list, we do have check-ins with them. So our client service team does maintain a relationship with these clients while they're waiting. So then they are doing regular check-ins and follow-ups just to make sure is anything changing in their household or their lifestyle. And then that reflects into their application for the trainers to review and making the matching.
Great. Do clients pay to get a dog? One of my favorite questions.
Do you want to answer that one, Sarah?
No, they do not. All of our dogs are placed free of charge thanks to donor support. That's a great answer that we get to give. Another question, who pays for vet care once the dog is in the client home? Is it the client or Dogs for Better Lives?
So we do ask the client to take on as many of those vet expenses as possible. Of course, if there's something catastrophic or unexpected, DBL is here to continue to support our dogs throughout their lives. So,
definitely. Is there anything, Gwen or Emilia, that you want to add, kind of following this conversation about temperaments, the kind of how matches are made, any of that? Oh, we're still getting questions too.
Oh, yeah, we are. That's a good question, Sarah. But we want to ask.
Yeah, let's get to the. So Carol asked, how can anyone get involved with Dogs for Better Lives? So I can answer that one. So you can go to our website. We have a volunteer page. It's dogsforbetterlives.org/get-involved. And that has a listing of all the different volunteer opportunities that you can get involved with Dogs for Better Lives, from puppy raising to transporting dogs to joining a regional advisory board. So there's a ton of ways you can get involved. I definitely recommend just checking out that page. How hard is it to get into this career field? Rachel wants to know.
Good question, Rachel.
Specifically on client services, it looks like.
So our client services team is definitely a mix of people with different backgrounds. So our overall client services manager is someone who started with our program as an apprentice and a trainer, and progressed through different levels of her career to be our client services manager. But we also have, and we have another instructor in that department, but we also have someone who's just been with the organization for a really long time and understands our clientele and has really made it a part of her life to organize our client services department. And she keeps us all, she keeps the cats kind of herded together so they don't all scatter everywhere. So it really does, a variety of skill sets can work in our client services department. Always be checking our website for positions that come available, although I really don't want to lose any of our current staff to have an open position. But as we grow, I think there'll be a lot more opportunities in client services, in training, in all of the work that we do.
Absolutely. And I wanted to, yes, all those things. I also wanted to highlight, we have a 3-year paid apprenticeship program where people can learn to become apprentice dog trainers, working with the dogs at any of our campuses. It's a great way to get your foot in the door in the industry and really grow with the organization. So like Emilia here started as, kennel. Did you start in the kennels, Emilia?
Yep.
Yes. So kennels. Yep. Emilia's been with us for a while and has continued to grow and is now our training manager. So it's a great way to join the organization is through that apprenticeship program. Let's see. So does DBL check in with clients throughout the years after they're placed to see how the match is working?
Yes, we do actually. We have a variety of follow-ups that we do. We actually do in-person follow-ups as well. So once we finish the placement, we schedule some follow-ups with the client. We have monthly ones that we do that are just like quick little check-ins. And then as time goes, we continue doing those in-person follow-ups. And then we also, as we talked about, the field reps. So the field reps have certain regions and they maintain a relationship with those clients, and they are always available for any questions or comments, concerns that the clients have. So they, at any time, they can send an email, send a call, and get in contact with their field rep to talk about how the match process went.
Yeah, or if there's any like new things they need management on training wise. Yeah. Emilia and Gwen, what is your favorite part of matching dogs with clients?
I can start first. I know overall that everything that we've been talking about, we have the ideal temperament for each of the programs that we have for the dogs. But I think my favorite part is it's fun to see the variety of clients that we have, and seeing a dog that might have a certain temperament and seeing like how they will actually fit in with multiple different clients' lives, and just really imagining this dog being in that person's life and being like, yes, this is it. Like it's almost like a magic moment when you're looking at the clients and you read little bits about them and you just start imagining this dog that you spent 6 months of your life training and bonding with and being like, yes, like I am happy to hand this dog to this person, and I know it's just going to be wonderful in the end. It is magical, as Gwen said.
And then for me, I think, a lot of people are drawn to this industry because we love dogs, but there's this phrase that says, come for the dogs and stay for the people. So similar to how Emilia answered Hannah, I would just say hearing the success stories, hearing the impact that even our field services, our field representatives are seeing in that first week. It's very motivating to just continue and then to kind of follow that client's journey throughout the life of the dog. It's very rewarding.
Definitely. Mary asked, in the matching example, each dog had some weaknesses, as all dogs do. How do you decide when any of those behavior problems are just not manageable to the point where you can't place it? So career change.
Yeah, I would say, just there where it's not manageable. If there are ways to manage it and it's nothing that's extreme, like if it's a quick managed thing and something that we can pass on to the client and show them give them the tips and tricks to be able to manage these problems, then we would move forward. If it's something that the trainer's been working on for multiple months and we can't find like the breaking point of what's really going to help eliminate these behaviors with the dogs, that's when we start having that discussion of, is this actually suitable for this dog, or would they be happier being a pet dog with somebody else?
Great. Thank you. I think that comes to close on our questions. If anyone has any more, drop them in.
Did you see Elizabeth is asking about age range?
Age range. Yep. Yeah. You want to take that, Gwen?
Chosen, sure. So in order to receive a hearing dog, 18 years of age or older, there's no upper limit. And then as far as for our autism assistance dogs, we are looking to place those dogs with applicants applying as soon as 4 years old and as old as 12. So that is sort of the age range. Our facility dogs, of course, are going to adults with full-time jobs. But I suppose if there was an ambitious 17-year-old with a full-time job, we could talk to them. Yeah. I'm mostly joking. And then how are clients chosen? So as we did that really big overview of the application program and very brief rundown of sort of the steps of it, once someone has completed all the steps of our application process, the team gets together, the client services team and field reps get together and talk about everyone and decide if that individual is a fit for this program or if they might benefit more so from a different program. And so that's how someone is selected onto our waiting list, is with the input of the team.
Great. Josie asked, as far as hearing dogs go, how does a dog team training differ from a client who's oral versus a client who only signs?
Yeah, so for all of our dogs, we do hand cues and we do verbal cues for all of them when it comes to their obedience tasks. And when we are going on placement, we do have the ability to bring on interpreters as well. And so we provide the tools that we can to clients, varying between both verbal and nonverbal, to be able to give them options to still be able to give those cues to their dogs for the obedience. And then, like we said, we have dogs. For our hearing dogs, we want them to be independent and confident. So that is more of the sound cue that they get. So overall, that just naturally transfers over.
Great. 2 career change questions. One, how many dogs fail or become a career change dog? And then, do you side place any career change dogs with other agencies before they become a pet dog?
So the numbers on how many dogs fail, Dogs for Better Lives is such a unique organization in that we're in this growth phase. And one of the pieces where we source our dogs is our own breeding program, which is very small. To be honest, 3 dogs. We have 3 females in our breeding program right now. So that is, at this time, not a current source of our dogs that go into our program. We do get dogs from guide dog schools. So we get their career change dogs that that don't do well as a guide, but might do well in our other programs. And so with those 2 sources, we are really showing a great conversion rate of dogs in the program to working dogs. It's nearing 70% right now. Right, really proud of that. But another source of our dogs is shelters. And we have a very small but strategic program going down in Carrollton, Texas right now, where we have a trainer who gets to be at Operation Kindness, even at intake if she would like to kind of pick the dogs that show the most potential for becoming some type of assistance dog in our program. So that program, when it started in June, she brought 3 dogs into the program, and it looks like 2 of those 3 are going to go on to make placements. So the numbers, I think, are going to kind of fluctuate as both of these programs and our different dog sources grow. But right now, we're super proud of those numbers. Industry average is that's usually around 50% of the dogs in the program go on to become working dogs.
Yeah, and then we do have organizations that we partner with. So similar to how we partner with guide dog organizations, if a dog's not a fit for their programs, they might be a good fit for ours. We have partnerships where we can do that with other organizations. So like search and rescue
search
organizations. Yep. So yeah, we try to find the best. I mean, kind of going back to Emilia said, we have a lifetime commitment to the dog. So if they're, we're wanting to find them the best place to go. And sometimes they're still meant to be a working dog, but just not in our programs. And so we find them a place that way.
Yeah, I think Florida was walking the line between being a hearing dog or facility dog or search and rescue dog.
Yeah, there you go.
Made up dog.
Busybody. Right. Well, I think that comes to the end of our questions. Thank you, everyone, so much for all the great questions. Great engaged audience today. Very happy that you joined us and made the choice to attend today. If you're watching the replay, we're appreciating you as well. Thank you for attending. Gwen and Emilia, thank you for sharing your expertise. It's super, super appreciated. Tell us what you think. So we put on these webinars roughly quarterly. We want them to be of value to you. And so I'm going to drop the survey in our chat box here. If you want to take it, it's a 2-minute survey, and you can just tell us what kind of topics you might be interested in the future and whether you found this presentation valuable. You can also watch your email and our social media channels for any details on future webinar dates and topics. We're working on one in February, not featuring Gwen and Emilia, but you'll probably see me there. So keep an eye out for that. But otherwise, thank you so much. And we hope you have a wonderful day. Bye.
Thank you. Bye. Thanks.